And we're live. Boom. Welcome to episode number 93 of the Average Man podcast, if I can remember the name of it. The Average Man podcast, shipping up to Boston there, brought us in. Mate, it has been a while since I've done one of these. Life just keeps getting on top of me, hey? And every weekend that goes by, I think it's been another 3 weekends, maybe 4. 3 weekends, let's say, that goes by that I don't do it, it eats away at me, hey. It really does. It's always in the back of my mind. But I haven't been able to pull it off lately, so I'm here to fix that. Turn this volume up a little bit. Is that better? Yeah. I'm here to fix that and try and get back on top of it. So here we are, episode number 93, Average Man Podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, average men and women. Hey, so what's happened since the last time I did an episode? Since the last time I have done an episode, let's try and keep the English at a reasonable level this time around, should we? Look, we've been to Broome. My wife and I went to Broome with the kiddos the weekend before Easter. So we went up there for our 10-year wedding anniversary. You know you're getting old when you're doing the 10-year wedding anniversary. Eh? How's that one? So we went up there to Broome. We normally go to Bali for our wedding anniversary each year. Try to. Obviously can't at the moment. So we did the Broome thing instead and had a really good time, man. It was pretty busy still because, for March is sort of the off season there in Broome. But this year being what it is, just everything's so booked out, man. We managed to get some accommodation. Then, like if you try to get in Broome weekend, that was completely flogged. And we've actually had another look for some July dates because originally we were going to try to do a week in down on the Coral Coast somewhere, Ningaloo coast there for the July school holidays, like for a week of them. But we just couldn't get a campsite, man. So I think the new rule is that you can book like 6 months out from a date, and if you're not in there pretty quickly, especially around those school holiday periods, everything just books out, man. Which is kind of shitty. And I was chatting to a couple of blokes about it, and I reckon that even though everything's booked out, I don't think that it's actually going to be completely full, all those campsites. It's just so cheap to book it that people just probably book them ahead of time as a contingency, and then just sort of do, if they go, if something else better pops up, they do that anyway, and you've already lost, like $100 or something for a week's worth of accommodation. So because we went there last year in July, I think, or maybe it was the August school holidays. No, it would have been July. And same thing, there was like 1 or 2 campsites left when we booked, and that's throughout all of the spots along the Ningaloo coast there. There's like 20 campsites, and there's like 10 or 20 campsites, like spots at each camp, and they're all apparently booked out. And when we went there, it was not even a third full, the place we were at. So it's like people just book it, and then if they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. Which sucks because you can't. People that actually want to go can't book, man. So, yeah. So we were going to do that in July school holidays, and obviously booked out. So then I said we looked at Broome, and no go, that's booked out as well. We actually looked at a couple of weeks after the school holidays as well, a couple of different dates, because my parents will be coming up to town. We thought we'd get up to Broome and check that out with them as well. But it's all booked out all through July. I think all the way to August it's already booked out, Broome. So it's just kind of crazy styles at the moment, trying to get in anywhere because no one can go overseas. It's sort of hard, and to go over east, you don't know if you're going to have to get lockdown quarantine, and it's bloody expensive anyway. So everyone's doing stuff in their own state at the moment. It's just, and which is good for the state, I guess, money getting spent locally, but it's hard to do anything. And if you're in Pilbara with ridiculously priced flights, you don't really want to fly your family away for just a quick little holiday. You definitely don't want to be flying them, multiple times a year at $2,500 a pop. Return tickets for the 4 of us. It really limits what you can do. You either drive, we can drive 7-8 hours to Exmouth, which is all right, but that's booked out. You can drive 5-6 hours up to Broome, which is all right, but that's booked out. Anywhere else, you start like getting into like driving a mission to get anywhere or a flight. So it's a bit limiting for us here, eh? Obviously we used to have the old 2-hour flight to Bali, which was a winner chicken dinner. So yeah, but we did go up to Broome and had a really good time. You know, it was just good to get out of Headland and have a bit of a break. Kids enjoyed it. Took my boy to the croc farm. He just frothed on it. Absolutely loved it. I took him there a couple of years back and was probably too young to really appreciate it, but he got right into it this time around, which was cool. He even held one of the little crocs, which was awesome because he's a super, oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness, yawning on a podcast, this is not good podcast etiquette. Excuse me. Yeah, for my boy, he's like really sensory and quite like, he doesn't pick up bugs and you know, little creatures and stuff like that. He's really quite, yeah, he's quite timid around those sorts of things. So for him to hold the little crocodile was a big deal for him, and he felt so proud afterwards. I was real proud of him too. And then went around and checked out some of the other crazy crocs there. Be honest with you, we got about halfway through the tour and his attention span started to drift, and it was like muggy as hell because it pissed down raining on the way out to the croc farm, like bucketed down. And then we had that super humid aftermath of a downpour in the wet season, and there was shitloads of midgies, mozzies everywhere biting us, eating our blood, feasting upon us. And we got about halfway through, and it's like you just end up going and seeing another croc doing something very similar to the last one. He's got a little story about that one. Then another croc does something very similar to the last one, and like it's super cool to see, especially up close. And you look through like a chicken wire fence, and there's a fucking prehistoric dinosaur, like full-blown monster, staring at you, which is cool. But yeah, we got to about halfway through, and I said, "Hey, bro, you still going, or you're pretty happy?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good, Dad, let's go." I was like, sweet. So we bailed out before it finished. Yeah, but that was awesome, man. We got down to both Cable and Ganthium Beach. I've got mates that live in Broome, and they're always like keen to go down Ganthium Point, which is sort of more where the locals go as opposed to Cable Beach. My missus was more keen to check out Cable Beach. She loves it down there. But we drove down to Ganthium Beach and got the stand-up paddleboard out, which was cool. Saw a mate of mine his missus had just had a baby that like week, actually, I think. And I haven't seen him for like 5 or 6 years or something. So that was cool to catch up, and then had the paddleboard down there, tucked the daughter on the front. We went out we saw a dolphin jumping out a little bit a ways out, and so jumped on the paddleboard and went out and had a bit of a geeze around the dolphin, got within about a metre or two of it, which was pretty cool. I was super nervous, but because I normally have my daughter's, like, even though she can swim, I normally have her floaties on going on the paddleboard, but kind of she just jumped on, and we sort of, next minute I knew we were halfway out chasing this dolphin. I was like, oh man, she doesn't have her floaties on. So I was like thinking about managing the fact of standing up, paddling. If she falls off, you know, I got to jump in, get her, keep hold of the paddle, keep hold of the board. I'm like, oh, this is a little bit stressful. I don't know how deep the water is here or whatever, but no, it was all good. We cruised out, saw the dolphin, sort of swam underneath the paddleboard and shit, which was cool. She was loving it, and then came back in. No damage was done, but it was pretty cool to see that, man. Yeah, I've been getting right into the paddleboard now. Like, I definitely need to keep practicing on the one I've got, but I definitely need to get a smaller board as well, with a bit more of a sharper nose and a bit more of a curve to the front of it, so it doesn't sort of bottom out or nosedive when I'm catching waves, because that's what I'm chasing. I'm chasing those little Pilbara waves that we get rolling through. So it was pretty cool, because this morning I went out. We've got those two lows, and one was a cyclone, one was a low, I think, off the coast, you know, of WA at the moment, bumping into each other and maybe going to make landfall down near Kalbarri or something. I haven't really been following it too much, but obviously we got a little bit of a weather system pushed back towards us from that. So we had some swell this week, which is pretty uncharacteristic for Headland. It's getting up to, like, you know, 1.8 meters consistently. I think it got up to like over 2 meters last night. And this morning, you know, obviously I've been working during the week, but I've been checking it out, looking at the waves roll in, checking the weather report and everything. And this morning, 7 a.m. was sort of perfect conditions. We had 1.5 meter swell, The wind was like just over 10k an hour. Enough water, so you want about, for the wave out the front of my joint on Sutherland Street to break, at the back of the reef there, you want about 3 meters of water, 3 to 3.5 meters of water is when that starts breaking at the back there. So 7 a.m. was 3 meters water, 12k an hour winds, 1.5 meter swell, and yeah, and me and a couple of the lads went out there and got amongst it, and it was so good, man. Like, they're just tiny little waves. You got to work so hard to get on them. They're actually less impressive than they look, which is funny, because they're a decent little size when you get out there. You know, sort of, some of them maybe chest high, definitely consistently waist high, but they've got no power to them, like, because the water doesn't get shallow enough quickly enough, the wave doesn't suck up from the bottom, and they just don't generate enough of their own power. So you get on these bloody waves and you're on it, but you've got to keep paddling, pushing. But it's just, I know, it's fun, like it's surfing in the Pilbara, which you just never get to do. Yeah, man, it's just something that a lot of guys up here, myself included, really miss when you're living here, is the opportunity to just go for a surf every now and then. So I kind of got that fixed this morning. I've been chasing a few little waves for the last few weeks, but I'm still really getting used to the board. So for me, yeah, sort of came together a little bit this morning. I still fell off a bunch of times. I still didn't have great success turning, because it's a 10.5 foot board that's like 32 inches wide. It's a big boat of a thing, so I got a bit of work to do, and definitely would benefit from a smaller board to maneuver around on a wave. But I had so much fun, man. I got my new carbon paddle during the week, because the one I had was a piece of shit. So I got my new carbon paddle, was able to get that up to the right height for me. It was super light. Yeah, just everything came together, and we spent a good 2 hours out in the water. I was just absolutely wrecked when I came in. I knew I was like, kept getting puffed while I was out and having breaks, and so were the other boys, and I kind of felt like it was a good workout while I was on the water. But it wasn't until I came in and started driving home, I just realised how wrecked I was, man. I came home and cooked up a big feed, bacon and eggs and mushrooms, and just demolished that. And then my arms and shoulders were all aching from paddling like a madman. And yeah, and I was just zonked for a few hours afterwards. So kind of just kicked back on the couch and watched a bit of UFC and chilled out, which was good. But I was just frothing on it. Hey, it was such a good little session. And we caught the session out the back, the breakers out the back, at the back edge of the reef. And then as the tide came in and it filled up more, we came in and thought the session was over. And then there was another little half an hour session of waves on the inside, which was good fun too. So just absolutely loving it, eh? Just right out in front of our house and cruise out there and have a paddle around. I was out there on Easter Monday, no waves out there, but you know, I missed the swell. There was a little bit of a breaker, but I was too late out there. But clear water, so you see dolphins swimming underneath you. Saw a ray out there as well, manta or a stingray, not sure which one, but a bit of wildlife going around, you know, and you're up, standing up, sort of looking straight down on them, so it's quite a cool little view. So I'm loving that, frothing on that at the moment, eh? What else is going on? Yeah, we had that Broome weekend, so the weekend before Easter was the heavyweight UFC heavyweight title fight, which was on, which is Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic. And now Stipe Miocic was the current champ. These dudes have fought before, and Miocic beat him, so it was a rematch. And he's was consensus best UFC heavyweight of all time, because best record anyway. Like, there's stipulations that other people could have beat him at certain times in their career. Some pretty bad dudes that were kicking around the same time frame, but he beat everybody. He had the most title defenses at heavyweight, which is only 3, which is pretty crazy to think. The longest reigning heavyweight champ in the UFC has only ever had 3 title defenses before they get knocked out. But he had the 3, he won it twice, so he lost it, won it back again, beat some absolute legends of the sport as well. So he really was the consensus best UFC heavyweight of all time. And then this fella Francis Ngannou, who's a big French, Cameroonian, African dude, and again they've fought before. He just took it to him and knocked him out cold, man. And he adjusted really well from the first fight, because the first fight he got taken down and worn out and like sort of blew his gas tank trying to go hard and knock Stipe out really quickly, and Stipe dragged him to the floor, wore him out, and kind of beat the shit out of him for 5 rounds, really. And then this time around, he worked on his wrestling a lot, and he paced himself and didn't blow his gas tank, and just looked super deadly on the feet, and yeah, knocked Stipe out in the second round. So it's pretty interesting, and you know, the exciting thing is like what happens next. John Jones has gone up and is putting on weight and is looking to make a debut at heavyweight. So the stipulation is that these two dudes will fight each other. Francis Ngannou, possibly the scariest heavyweight of all time, and John Jones, probably the greatest mixed martial arts fighter of all time. So that should be a real massive blockbuster fight, and I'm excited to see John Jones get knocked out. I hate to be a hater, but I don't like that dude. I've watched all of his fights. He's super exciting, but it would be exciting to watch him get knocked out by Francis Ngannou, and definitely a possibility. And if Francis was to beat John Jones, I mean, this dude would just become an absolute superstar. It would be the biggest fight in UFC history. He would knock out, the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. He's got the look. He looks like a superhero, big, black, jacked dude, fucking just naturally, I think he's like 275 pounds, like 130 kilo or something. He cuts weight down to make the heavyweight limit. He's just an absolute beast of a man. Super scary. Can knock anybody out with one punch. So if he was to beat John Jones, the UFC could be looking at having a Mike Tyson style heavyweight champ, which would be pretty exciting. It's just the guy that looks the part and knocks everyone out and is just sort of feared by all. So that would be pretty cool and pretty interesting to see. So I'd love to see what happens next with that Francis Ngannou as a champ, and if that John Jones fight materialises. It's just coming down to money at the moment. So that was Broome weekend. We went out for dinner a few nights and just swam in the pool every day, which was awesome. Kids loved it. It's so good seeing the kids just have that time in the pool to build up their confidence. They were diving right down to the bottom in the deep end to get the little dive fish things that we had for them. And yeah, it's good to get out of Headland, man. We stayed at the Seashells, which we really love. I'll go back there next time as well. You kind of we got a 3-bedroom, only needed a 2-bedroom, but got a 3-bedroom apartment at a really good price. It's in Cable Beach. The pool's really good there. You get heaps of room. So definitely a spot that I'd stay again if we went back to Broome. But then the weekend after, Easter weekend, so I had the 4-day weekend then, and then we had another 4-day weekend over Easter, which was nice to just give the body and everything a little bit of a rest from work, because it's been bloody hectic lately. We just sort of chilled out at home, spent the weekend here. Really didn't do a whole lot. Some friends of ours were down in Exmouth for like a week. So they said that we could use the pool, which is just down the road from us. So we went there a couple of days and had a swim in the pool, all the kids out. And then did a bit of gardening and watched a bit of TV, some movies with the kids and shit. Really just hung out, chilled, and saw nobody else, and really didn't do much at all, which was quite nice too, just to really dial it back a little bit. I'm always trying to get so many things going at one time, and so for me to just give that all up for a weekend and just hang out with the family and chill out and do that was pretty cool. Still frustrated the hell out of me that I didn't get everything I wanted to get done over that weekend, but that's just my crazy mind doing what my crazy mind does. But no, it was pretty cool, man. Good to see that. Yeah, good to have a weekend at home with the kids, and that pool made all the difference. Just being able to go and wear them out and then come back home and chill out and feel like, at least we haven't just sat at home and done nothing with the kids all day. So and then after Easter weekend, went straight into dog sitting for one of the boys from work. So the 3 dogs my missus brought home from work, from the community, we ended up keeping one of the girls, which I really didn't want to, because I had committed to this Kelpie, purebred Kelpie boy, to sort of step into the shoes of my boy Casper I lost a year ago. And something I'd put a lot of thought into and waited a long time to felt it was right, and had chosen this dog. So I knew I'd love the characteristics of a Kelpie, with how intelligent they are and how active they are, and chasing the ball and swimming and problem solving, all that kind of shit. And then Mrs. comes home with these bloody Pilbara special rat things from the community, and I got worn down by her and the kids, and we end up keeping one. And then one of the boy, which was probably the one I liked the best out of the dogs, I we sold to a mate of mine, and he had to go work away for a few days, so we then looked after the boy, and it just reiterated to me that, man, if I knew I was going to get worn down and bullied into keeping one of these dogs, I would have kept that boy. He was a real good dog. He was real cute. So I'm not quite sure what to do about this. It's hard. It's a hard situation because we've got this dog now, and I love all animals, and she's cute, and there's nothing wrong with her, but I didn't choose her. I didn't really want her in the family, and now I'm going to slowly come to terms with the fact that she's here, and I've got to treat her properly, and it's a tricky situation. So definitely not the dog I wanted, and it's just landed on us. And for me, getting a dog's a massive decision. So I'm pretty sort of thrown by the whole thing at the moment, to be honest with you. I can still come to terms with this rat that's taken the place of the dog I'd chosen, and then the fact that we gave the brother away, who was actually a really good dog as well. And just while I'm on that, how's this? The boy that we looked after, the fella we sold it to named it Gypsy. A boy dog named Gypsy. That's a girl's name, brother. But anyway, each to their own. It's 2021, I guess, doesn't really matter. Gender neutral name, I suppose. But anyway, what else has been going on, man? For me personally, not a lot, just heaps of work. Obviously, I've been working weekends and then finding it hard to get this podcast done, which has been stressing me out. But aside from that, my work's been going well. It's just going good with the kids at school, and for me, yeah, all I've really been doing outside of work is the gym. Gym's been nice and consistent for me. Just been lifting really heavy this year, doing this powerlifting program. I got an app for it, and which is good. It takes all the guesswork and negotiation out of it for me. It's just what I'm lifting and how much and reps and everything is all determined for me on the app. So I just got to do the work that's in front of me. And I haven't lifted heavy for years because I get problems with my joints and shit like that. So, which is starting to happen now. But I've made a lot of headway, putting on some weight, muscle on my legs I want to keep, and I've got these skinny black fella legs on me, so it's always really hard for me to put muscle on the legs. But I've put a bit of muscle on my legs, and I'm feeling really strong and lifting more than I have ever really before. So it's some good goals I'm hitting there, but I'm definitely looking forward to, in another 4 weeks, I'm going to wrap this program up. Looking forward to going back to eating normally and doing some fasting, because I'm eating just heaps, so I'm always bloated feeling, and going back to my normal eating program and lifting weights probably just once a week, and just start to run and do my circuits and hit the bag and get fit again, rather than just sort of strong, which is what I prefer to be. But I like to mix it up, do things different. I'm 38 years old now, so I thought it was time I went for another stint at some heavy lifting and see if I could put a bit more muscle on my frame. So it's been something I've been really motivated for it anyway, because I've got these certain goals in mind that I'm trying to hit. So it's always good to find something that puts you out of your comfort zone, mixes it up, keeps you motivated, keeps you working harder. I guess that's what I've been doing with this. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, moving forward, there's a couple of things I wanted to hit before I get out of here. First one's pretty exciting. If you've been following the news at all lately around drug laws and clinical trials and shit like that in Australia, you would have heard that the government has approved a $15 million grant for psychedelic clinical trials in Australia, which is massive. I didn't think that they were going to be doing that this soon in Australia. So I definitely know the needle's moving on marijuana and medicinal marijuana, but I wasn't aware that they were going to come to the party on the psychedelic clinical trial thing this soon, which is pretty cool, man. So I think last month there was a move to try and get MDMA and psilocybin off the prohibited list onto a controlled substance list is when you can start using it for treatment. That was knocked back, but then they went ahead and granted the $15 million to do the research to see if it is viable, because this has been going on globally, all the research around using specifically psilocybin and psychedelics for treatment of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety for people with terminal illness and a bunch of other things. So, I mean, that's really good news, man. And it feels like reading the article I was reading that the people who make these decisions and are influential in this field are really starting to realize that we are so far behind the rest of the world in this department. So they're admitting that and starting to get the wheels turning. It's going to be hard in Australia because we are such a nanny country, nanny state, but the wheels are turning, which is exciting. There's a quote here from Dr. Nicole Lee, who's a professor at Curtin University for the Drug Research Institute, who they have obviously quite a big influence on what goes on with this. I think they are undertaking these clinical trials. They have a relationship with the government heads that make these decisions. Basically what she said was, Australians are suffering and dying, and these treatments offer an opportunity for true healing. We need to put aside the politics from 50 years ago and start putting people's lives first, which is just spot on the money. Exactly right. We're talking about stigmas attached to these substances from years and years ago, fear mongering, and that is what's holding back the policy and the law moving forward. And people are living miserable, shitty lives with ineffective treatments using pharmaceutical drugs, and people are dying and lives being ruined and torn apart and all that sort of stuff. And there's other options out there that are not dangerous, and we've been turned a blind eye to them just because of public perception and stigma, and so it's really good to see that they're admitting that, they realise that, and they're getting the ball rolling, man, and we could have a different future in 20 years time where people can actually get decent treatment for things that's been shown to be effective and doesn't get them hooked on a pharmaceutical drug. So that's really exciting for me, man. And what's also exciting to me is a mate of mine put me onto this guy, Dr. Matty Moore, who's a doctor down south in Dunsborough, and he's one of only about 80 physicians in Australia who is prescribing medicinal marijuana. So with medicinal marijuana now, they go through this certain training to become qualified or certified, that's the word, and then they are able to prescribe medicinal marijuana without the use of a specialist outside of it as well, except for children. They have to go through a specialist to prescribe medicinal marijuana to children, which is fair enough. But so he's one of a handful of people in the country doing it. He's here in WA. He's really passionate about it. He's also prescribing CBD for patients as well. So I got hold of him through his website, and I booked an appointment to try and get myself a prescription for CBD, because I use it for pain management, helps with sleep and a bunch of other things as well. So hopefully I can get that sorted out. But while I was chatting to the dude, I noticed, I've been following his Instagram page and noticed he does a lot of little clipped videos explaining his point of view and current drug laws and how we need to change the perception and what he prescribes for and who he prescribes for and all these sorts of things. And I've seen he's been on a couple other people's little podcasts talking about this as well. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I've also got a podcast. I'd love to have you on via Zoom one time if you'd be interested in doing that. And he got back and said, yeah, for sure. We had a bit of a back and forth banter about it. And he seems really keen. So what I said was that I need to go and do a little bit of research on the current state of all the laws and what the treatments are and just where the whole thing is sitting right now, because as much as I am passionate about this, something I've been interested in for a long time, I haven't kept up to date with the latest information over the last few years. So I've started reading, watching some clips, watching some of his clips, just getting some information, jotting down some dot points, so that when I do chat to him, I've got an educated opinion and standpoint, so I can actually have a good base for the discussion. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing now. That'll take me about a week or two. I'll probably a week or two at the max, and then we'll book something in with Matty Moore, and we'll have him on here via Zoom. So I'm really excited about that one. Yeah, man, this is something that I'm passionate about, and he's really passionate about as well. When I first started this podcast, I thought about how to get in touch with people involved in the legalization of medicinal marijuana and making the laws, and people who understand the processes going on in the background, and just people who I can chat to about this. And this is something that's popped up now, obviously, and I'm bloody really excited for it. So keep an eye open, keep an eye out for that one. I'll obviously post it on the socials and everything like that, and really pump that one through. And when that pops up, if you're interested in this area, or you've got anybody who you know who has depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, who's suffering from side effects from cancer or leukemia treatments or anything like that, like, it's important that people get this information and we can start changing public perception. So I'd really appreciate people to point him in Matty Moore's direction for his website, his Instagram page, and all that sort of stuff, but also definitely get him to listen to the podcast that we do when that happens, because not only is it something that's really cool and exciting and interesting for me, it's something that I think is really important, and definitely, something that we need to move the needle on in society. So, and it only moves when we, the people, get behind it and push it and demand change. So yeah, we can all do our little bit to make a big change. So yeah, there's a couple of really exciting things right there. Psilocybin clinical trials, money's been granted for that to happen in Australia. Super excited. And then obviously medicinal marijuana, which was legalized last year, and now I'm gonna get this dude on, Matty Moore, and have a bit of a chat about it. So straight from the horse's mouth, which is really exciting. So yeah, look, that's all I got for you this week. Half an hour, nice and tight for my first episode back. Really need to start getting these more and more consistent and getting some more guests on. So get back in the swing of things. We're in the 4th month now, and this year's not really gone the way I wanted it to as far as podcasts. So anyway, that's my job to get on top of that. Thanks heaps for listening. Please share the friggin' episodes, tell people about it, tag your mates in it, repost them, all that kind of shit. Yeah, and help me get the numbers up and get this thing moving a little bit more. So anyway, thanks everybody for your time. Average Man Podcast, episode number 93. Shipping up Boston. Shipping up to Boston. Over and out. Oi.